Hello and welcome back to another session on cybersecurity. In this session, we're going to take a look at the password tracking tool by the name John the Ripper. So we're going to take a demonstration of this tool. Before going into the demonstration, we need to understand a few basics. So it's a password cracking tool and it's an offline password cracking tool. So what do you mean by this concept? First, let's take a look at this slide. So let me say I'm adding an user with username Kali and password as Kali to my Kali Linux machine. So how this username and password is maintained inside Kali Linux? For this, the username is actually going into this file that is in this directory, and the file name is passwd. So this password file contains information about this user. So what information is present is the username, and this is the placeholder for the password. So the username and then the placeholder for the password. This is the user ID. So that is the user ID, a unique ID for the user. And this is the user group ID. So what do you mean by a group ID here is a set of users will have common privileges and they will be given a common group ID. So that is the group ID. And this is the home directory for my user. And this is the default command shell, the shell for my user. So this is one of the important files which maintains data about the user. So I have added this user in my Kali Linux machine, and one of the files contains this data about this user. The next file that is created for the user and it's maintaining the user information is this important file by name shadow, which is present in this directory. And you can see this file contains the username, and whatever follows the username is the encrypted password. So this password is encrypted or hashed. We can say it's hashed and then it's stored in this file. So shadow file is actually an important file containing the username and the hash passwords. So here in Kali Linux, it uses this kind of strategy. So what is bcrypt? Bcrypt is nothing but hashing strategy which uses several rounds for converting this password. And you can see here the very first character here denotes the type of hashing used. And these two characters here, I mean these characters here, J9T, actually represent 15, which represents the number of rounds. It represents the number of rounds that are used for this hashing. So it's a variable length scheme, that is based on the number of rounds, the length of the hash value differs. And it also uses a salt. So bcrypt also uses the salt. So salt is added while you're hashing a specific password to make it more confidential. So this is about bcrypt strategy that is used in Kali Linux for hashing and storing passwords. So what is that we find here is whenever you add an user, you will be having the data of the user in two files. One is the password file, another one is the shadow file. So in the password file, you're going to have the user's ID, username, the placeholder for the password, the group ID, the default home directory, and then the default shell. In the shadow file, you're going to have the hash password. Here we are having the hashing strategy as bcrypt, and I just explained to you that the very first character here denotes the type of hash that we are using, and here J90 represents 15, which is nothing but the number of rounds we are using for hashing this specific password. And depending on the number of rounds, the length of this hash value is going to change. That's the nature of bcrypt algorithm. And we are also having a salt that is added while we are hashing, so that we make breaking this string difficult for the hackers. So this is how we can add users and maintain their username and password. So now where is that we are going to use John the Ripper? How is that you're going to crack passwords using John the Ripper tool? So for this, we are going to take this username and this and then this password, and we are going to crack this hash password. So John is going to take this file, or else we can make a copy of this file. You should never mess with this file. So we'll take the data from this file, create a copy, and then what we'll do is we'll take the username and then the hash value. We'll give it to John, the Reaper password tool. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this specific username and then the password. So it's going to try and identify the password from the username, or else it's going to try and identify the password from a word list dictionary of common passwords, or else it can go with incremental attack, wherein it will try all combinations of characters and then it'll check whether it'll start guessing the password. So we're going to do all these things using John, but even before going into that, I just wanted you to understand the structure of the password file that we're going to use. So let me explain these modes. Now let us take a look at the different password cracking modes supported by John the Ripper tool. The first mode is single crack mode. So what is that we are feeding to John the Ripper password tracking tool is the username and the hashed password. So now what it's going to do in the single crack mode is it's going to take the username and then it's going to find the variations with respect to the username. Say it can try all to be in caps, username all in caps. The next variation is having K to be in caps, A to be in small letters, L to be in caps, I to be in small letters. The next variation can be K is in small letters, A is in caps, L is in small letters, and I is in caps. So it's going to take the username from the username and the information surrounding the username. It will try and guess the password. So it's going to take every variation, then it will hash it. And using that output hash, it will compare whether this output hash matches the input hash. If there is a match, then it's going to say it's a successful password cracking attempt. So this is the command we give for single crack mode, that is sudo john. We enforce single crack mode by saying single. So you can see that very well here. And this is the hashing algorithm that we are going to use. And this is the password file containing the username and the password. So what is happening in single crack mode is we are telling John to take the username and the information surrounding the username, use that as the key, and then find variations to it and use this specific hashing algorithm to hash and then get the output hash. Compare this output hash with the input hash. So this is going to be the single crack mode and this is the command for that. And the next mode supported by John the Ripper is Wordlist mode. What is a word list? It's nothing but a file containing commonly used passwords like this. So you can use any word list of your choice, and in Kali Linux, we have all the word lists present in this specific directory. And I'm using this specific word list, that is fasttrack.txt, which will contain commonly used passwords like this. And we are specifying that we'll be using the word list mode by giving the keyword as word list. So John, the Reaper tool, is going to go to this word list file, take every password, and then it's going to hash it. How it will hash it? It will use this specific hashing strategy we are mentioning here. So it's going to take welcome, use that hashing strategy as hash it, and it will get an output string. So this output hash string, it will compare that with the hash in the input file. If there is a match, then our attempt is successful. So in word list mode, we can specify the word list that we are going to use, and it's going to take every password, hash it, compare that with the input password hash. So that's how word list mode works with respect to John. How you enforce word list mode? You give this keyword word list equals the file which we are going to use as an word list. The next mode that we are going to see is an incremental mode. So what is an incremental mode? It's going to attempt several combinations. So it's going to be a more time taking mode. So if you're not sure about single crack, if you're not sure whether you can crack the password using single crack or word list, then you can go with incremental mode. So this is the mode that you have to use when your attempts with single crack and word list fails. So what is incremental mode? Say if my password is something like A BB, then what is that I can specify here is I can say it's an incremental mode or method of cracking. And the minimum length of my password is, say it's, I think it's anywhere between 2 characters and 3 characters. So I'll give minimum length to be 2 and maximum length to be 3. And this is max runtime. So this is in number of seconds that this algorithm or this specific run should be completed. And format is the hashing technique, that hashing algorithm that we should use. And password.txt is the file containing this information. So what it does in this mode is it starts with say AA, then it goes to AB, then it goes to BA. So like that, it creates every single combination. So it's going to check for all the 2 characters till it reaches 3 characters. Say if the password is ABB, it's going to try all the combinations and then come to this password cracking thing. So this is like it's going to take a lot of time. As you see, it's going to try a lot of combinations, but still we can enforce a max runtime. So within that runtime, whether it's going to crack it or not. And this is very useful. You mentioned the minimum length and maximum length so that it's very much within that range. So incremental mode you're going to use only when you are not able to crack the password using word list or single crack mode. The final mode that we're going to take a look at is default mode. What is the use of default mode is we're not going to specify whether it is single, whether it is word list or anything. We'll just say John, this is the hashing strategy and this is the input password file. So what it's going to do is it will start with single crack. By default, it will try single crack. If single crack fails, it will go to word list mode. So in word list mode, it's going to use a default a word list, that is password.lst, which is present in this directory, that is user share, and John the Ripper has got its own list of word lists. So from this directory, it will use this word list and it'll try and attempt to crack it. If it's not cracking it, then it's going to go to the incremental mode. So when you mention something to be in the default mode, it will try first single. If it fails, it go to word list. Then if it fails, it go to incremental. So this is the default mode supported by John the Ripper. I hope you are clear with all these 3 modes: single crack, word list, and incremental. Now we'll move on to the demonstration of all these modes. I'll show you how to enforce single crack mode, word list mode, incremental mode. Then finally we'll take a look at the default mode. But before going into the demonstration, this is the disclaimer. Password cracking is a cybercrime and please don't attempt this on systems for which you don't have permission. So always take the necessary precautions before you're trying all these things out. We are carrying out these things in an isolated private network of virtual machines. Okay, with that, let's go to the demonstration now. The first task is let me add an user by name Matthew, and his password is going to be something with a capital M, A, capital T, H, capital E, and a W. Let's say this user I'm going to add is going to have this username and password. We'll use the single crack mode to in John, the Ripper password tool, to actually crack this password. So let's go with adding this user to Kali Linux now. So how to add an user? So for this, we have to go with sudo add user, and the username here is Matthew. So we have to enter the root password, and it's going to ask us for certain details like name of the user. So it's adding. So it's going to ask the password. So I'm going to give a capital M, a capital T, small h, a capital E, and a W. So retype password, capital M, a small a capital T, and H, a capital E, and a W. So passwords updated successfully. Now we are going to enter the name of the user, Matthew, and room number. For everything we'll give a 0 here. See, this is what I was telling you. In single crack mode, it will try and crack the password by using the username and the data that we populate for the username. So here we are giving and why this information is correct. So user is added. So now, as I told you, there are two files that maintain this user information. The first file is, let's take a look at this sudo cat. It's in this directory etc password. So this file which maintains information about this specific user. So I told you this is the username, this is the placeholder for the password, this is the user ID, this is the group ID, and you also have the home directory for this user mentioned here and the default shell for this user. So this exists in the password file and this data is maintained in the password file. And we also looked at another file that is sudo cat. It's in this directory and the file name is shadow. And as I told you here, the username is entered along with the hashed password. So what is this password? This is an hash password. We have looked at bcrypt and I told you the very first character here denotes what kind of hashing has been used. And here J90 actually represents 15. It denotes the number of rounds that this hashing strategy has used. So based on the number of rounds, the length of the hash varies. So that's the concept behind bcrypt. And you can just dig around bcrypt and learn more about it. And since our focus is on password cracking, I'm just giving you a very brief overview of what bcrypt is all about. And it also uses a salt, and then this salt is used for having stronger hashing strategies so that the hackers cannot guess the hash. So this is the data that we need, and let me copy this data and we can go to our own file. So I'll go to a file sudo nano pass.txt. So we're going to use this file and let me delete this and let me paste whatever we have with us. So here in pass.txt we have the username and then the hash password, and let's save this. So we're going to use this file, and John is going to take up this file and then it's going to try cracking the password. So let's clear screen. Let's use John. So sudo, the way to use the tool is call John by saying JOHN, and we'll use the single crack mode here. As I told you, single crack mode, the concept is it will try to derive the passwords from the username and the information that we have put in surrounding the username. And the next thing is we should mention the type of hashing strategy. So we have to give that in format is equal to, and you can give anything here. It can be SHA-256, MD5, whatever it is, whatever hash we have used. Here we are going to give it as script. Script here denotes a set of hashing strategies that also includes bcrypt. So we're going to mention format is equal to crypt, and here we're going to give our file which contains the username and password. And that's it. Let's press and enter here. See, now it's trying to crack the password using single crack mode. So it's going to use the variations of the username and crack the password. So as you can see, we have the username here, and it's able to identify the password by having various combinations of the username. I hope you're able to follow what a single crack mode is all about. Now let's move on to the next mode. So what is this demo all about? It will be on Wordlist mode in John the Ripper tool. So when you talk about word lists, where are the word lists available? You should go to this specific folder, cd user share and word lists, and you find ls. So you have a lot of word lists here. I'll try and use this word list, fasttrack.txt. So what is this word list? Sudo cat fasttrack.txt. So here you have commonly available passwords. I have this password MSF admin here. Maybe I'll create a user with this password MSF admin. So let me clear screen and let me Again clear screen. So what is that I'm going to perform here is add an user. So how will you add an user is sudo add user. I'll add the user Matthew, and the password I'm going to give is msf admin, and again msf admin. Now I'm giving the full name. So Matthew, I'll give room number 0, work phone 0, home phone 0, everything is 0, information correct. So we have added this user. Now what is our next step is, let me clear screen. Let's go to this file sudo cat. We should check whether this is present in the password file. So Matthew got added to the password file, and we'll clear screen. Again we'll check this file sudo cat etc/shadow. So here we have the hash created using bcrypt for this username Matthew. Let me copy this selection. See, I told you should never change anything with respect to these files. If you are messing up with these files, your system gets corrupted. So what is the other way around this? Let's clear screen. Let's have this file sudo nano pass.txt. So this is the file wherein I'm going to remove this, paste my paste my record, and then save this. So my pass.txt is created. We know which word list we are going to use. Now we should just instruct John. So we will say sudo John. The mode is ---- word list, and here it is user share word lists. See, I have run this, so that's why you are able to see that command fast track dot text. And now you should also give the format. What is the format? Format is script, and the file name is pass.txt. So that's how you inform John that you use this specific word list, use this script algorithm, and then check for the password. So now it's directly using the word list. It's not using single crack mode. Directly it's using the word list. And here you see for Matthew, the password is msf admin. So it's able to crack it up. So you can use any specific word list that is available. So we have hundreds and thousands of commonly used passwords. So sometimes when you look at that file, a password that you will have in your mind maybe in that file, you think it's a complex password, but that is commonly used. And also it will try and fetch the data from the user info if you are using single crack mode. So the only good thing here is always use a password which is not in the dictionary, which no one can guess, which is not part of your user profile, that is publicly visible to anybody. So that is the strategy here. So are you all clear with the word list mode in John the Ripper? Next mode, let's go with the next mode. What is that next mode? That is incremental mode. The next mode we are going to see is incremental mode for which tool? John the Ripper. So what is this incremental mode all about? For this, first let me remove this user, sudo user del Matthew. So this is the way to remove an user. If I want to change the password for this user, what is that I give? What is that I give? Sudo password. I enter the username. Now I change the password. The password may be ABB. ABB. So for an user, existing user, I change the password. Now this ABB is not part of his username. It's not in the word list. So definitely we should attempt incremental mode here. So we will clear the screen. Let's try whether incremental mode works. But before that, we should do certain steps. That is, we should go to shadow. Now this is the hash for the new password we have created. Control Shift C and clear the screen. Now you go to sudo nano pass.txt and remove this document, paste this document, exit by saving. So we are done. Now we can go with this clear screen. What is that command we are going to give is sudo John. Now it is incremental. So we say ---- incremental, And this is optional, like you can give min length and max length, but this, if you have an idea that this password is between these characters, it reduces the time to a greater extent. So I'll just give min length to be 2 and max length to be 3. Format is script pass.text. So pass.text contains that username and hash function which we have given, hash value which we have given. So with this, it should try incremental mode and crack it up. Let's check. So now it is directly using incremental mode. No word list or no single crack mode used here. Let's wait for some time. Let's see what the results are going to be. Here it is. Matthew, password is ABB. So ABB is not present in that file, but it's able to crack it up. So anyway, what is the final mode we have here is this um, default mode. So let me create some password. How will you change the password for Matthew? Let's change the password again for Matthew. Maybe I'll give it now AAA, something like that. All A's I'll give. Now what else we have to do? Sudo cat. It requires a few steps. We should get used to this. Copy selection. Next is clear screen. Sudo nano pass.text and remove this. Paste this. Exit it. Save this. Now the final mode is, what is this final mode? That is the default mode in John the Ripper tool. So what is that default mode? Is nothing but don't mention anything specific, like you say sudo John and then you give the format to be crypt pass.text. That's it. This is what you are going to do. See, in the default mode, what it does is first it attempts single crack mode. Then when it goes to this word list mode, it is going to use a default set of word lists that is available with John the Ripper itself. So where is this default word list available for John the Ripper? Let me, before even running this, in the word list mode, it's going to use, say, let me go to this directory, cd user share word John. So here it has got its own word list. So you can take a look at this. You'll have some password.lst file, which is like a file containing default commonly used passwords. So John the Ripper internally has got its own word lists, which will use in the default mode. That's it. Let me clear the screen. Let's go back to this command. What is that command? Sudo John. This default mode we'll try. Uh, format crypt pass.text. Okay, maybe I try that. Let's see one more thing. Why I'm getting this message is if I have earlier used AAA for an user, that specific hash function I have already cracked, it's not going to again crack it up. It's going to say, yes, we have already cracked this. So you should have something that you are not cracked. Let me change the password for Matthew again to maybe CCC. I think I didn't give CCC. Let's try this. So again, these steps is going to repeat. Please bear with me on this thing. So we should copy this. Now the hash function for CCC is generated. Hash value is generated, not the function. Let's clear screen. Sudo nano pass.text. Let's delete this, paste this, save this, clear screen. Let's try. So now it's saying proceeding with single crack. So it starts with single crack mode by default. Then it will move to word list. If CCC is there in the word list, it will crack it, or else it will move to incremental and then crack it. So it's going to take some time. So now it's in the single crack mode. Let's see what happens with the other two modes. So let it crack that up. Let's see what's happening. It's going to take some time. So now you see That's what I was telling you. It was using single crack mode. Now it went to proceeding with word list. So it failed with single crack. So it proceeds with word list. What is the word list it's using here is share john password.lst. So that is the default word list it uses. So if it fails in this mode, what will be the final mode? Incremental mode, and then it will try to crack it up. This is still trying to crack using word list. Why it's taking a lot of time is we'll have thousands of hashes to be generated for all the commonly occurring passwords here. So maybe if it completes, I'll post that in the video. Are you all clear with this?